What's up, Nerd Crew? Nurdie J here, and today we are going to kind of continue on a conversation piece like I did last week. It's just that I went through my collection and I compiled a list initially, Transformers that need to be updated within my collection. And, well, I figured why not go to pretty much from classics all the way to current and see what kind of Transformers that need to be updated in general. So without further ado, cue the intro. This list is not going to contain any honorable mentions. All of this is fair game, pretty much. And because there is just such a big list, I am splitting this up into 3 parts. This first part, as in the title card mentioned, is going to be classics all the way to, I think, Combiner Wars. And so, without further ado, let's get started. Starting off this list is going to be classics, and there's only one figure that I think should work for an update that hasn't really gotten one, and that is Classics Grimlock. Now, the reason why I say it is Grimlock that needs to be done, even though we have the Studio Series 86 version, is that this one is based off of at least taking homages and jabs at the Pretender Grimlock. And essentially, I feel like there has not been an accurate or a justified Pretender version of Grimlock, because, yeah, you can say that, you know, we don't have any real Pretenders for the Grimlock, Bumblebee, and Jazz, but we have so many Bumblebees at this point that you can just use any of them and it would work. Now with Grimlock, since he is taking so many cues of the Pretender, I would like to see that trait go into like a Voyager class with modern engineering, keeping the tail whip idea, maybe add a little bit of a blaster at the end like it did in the G1, but not necessary, and keep the overall idea of what they were going for the sword gun. And essentially, I would just like to see it updated, keeping a lot of the general aesthetics and maybe keeping it with the Pretender motif in general. For Generations, this is kind of a twofer because we already have an update of a version of this character, and that was in Titans Returns, and it was very lackluster. It was not accurate by any means. And for Generations, it's going to be Thunderwing and Sky Shadow, for Titans Return Sky Shadow if you prefer. Anyway, they are not good figures anymore. They are showing their age. I would like to still be a double Pretender, if possible. Take the little drone and make that into Thunderwing's character and then put it on the inside to fill in the face or something of the bigger robot. I would just like to see this as either a Voyager or a Leader class, and then you would have Sky Shadow just using the same mold with different detailing. But essentially, because they're showing their age and the Titans Return Sky Shadow was very not right, because it was a pre-mold for Overlord, then essentially, yeah, they are needing a big to-do update. Taking up the bulk of this list will be the Thrilling 30 section. To start it off will be Thrilling 30's Generation 2 Dreadwing. Now, the thing is that Dreadwing was either a pre-tool or else it was just a retool of Megatron's jet version from the IDW comics. I would like to see this guy pretty much get a standalone figure as a Voyager, and he would have, instead of that railgun that he has, he would have the missile launcher that could probably detach, and the jet engine part of the missile launcher could be like the fusion cannon for if they wanted to do Megatron. I would like to see this as also BB from Transformers Beast Wars 2, since that's kind of getting a boom in the Generations line currently. I would like to see it as RID's Dreadwing as well, and maybe eventually come out with like a deluxe for Starscream / Smoke Jumper / Smoke Screen, and essentially you would get the complete set for the Generation 2, because as it stands, the deluxe is very small and kind of looks pitiful in the rest of the collection. This one might be a little controversial, and I want to say this character needs a better update than what he got, and that is Thrilling 30 Metroplex. The reason why I say he needs a better one is because he is very lanky, he doesn't tune into the city mode very much at all. The ramp that is supposed to be in city mode is too short, so you have to use it for his rolling base mode, and that kind of doesn't work because it doesn't stretch all the way that it needs to. It's not very G1 in aesthetic. It's got the notes and stuff of G1, but because of its being lanky, it's homaging also parts of other genres within the Transformers, and I want to see it more of a G1 looking cartoon, specifically looking Metro. Nightbeat from Thrilling 30, I'm not a fan of. I try and modded him a little bit to be more of the Headmaster edition, but he is so much IDW in him that essentially it feels like he loses his G1 aesthetic quite a bit. What I would like to do is go back to the blueprint of the G1 toy and essentially make it more like the G1 toy or the comic, but I don't remember him really being in the comic. And then you could retool it to be more feminine, and you would actually have a pretty accurate, possibly, at least toy edition of Minerva, because this is also where Minerva fits in for the Legacy one, because honestly, I don't get what they did to Minerva. It's that shoehorned female mold, and essentially it worked fine. It works fine, I should say, for Alita 1, but it doesn't work for Minerva by any means for me. So I would like to see a new Nightbeat harking back to G1 instead of IDW, and it could be retooled to be more feminine to make Minerva. Rhinox, I really love this toy, but the problem is he has the issue of he can't stand because the knee joints are molded weird or something. I just can't get him to stand whatsoever, and apparently that's a big issue with this toy. The transformation is kind of like a mess a bit, and he's relying on a lot of the soft plastic that isn't really needed in a lot of it. And then he did get updated to the Kingdom one, but that thing's even worse. I don't know what the heck they were thinking with the leg panels for his robot mode. He just does not look good as in the Kingdom. I think they need to go back to molding between the three molds of generations, the Thrilling 30 generations, the Masterpiece Edition / the cartoon, and the original toy to make a solid figure that stands, that looks great, and essentially is worth your time in getting, and so you don't have to like mangle up your figures trying to get them to stand and stuff like that. This one doesn't need much to be done with, and that is Skybite. Skybite is a great transformation. It has a lot of personality. It's just that he needs to be bulked up in robot mode to fit more with the line of the cartoon of Robots in Disguise, and they need to mod the transformation so he's not like doing an arch, because he is practically impossible to display without some kind of stand in beast mode. But yeah, just bulk him up, straighten him out in beast mode, and yeah, he's got a really good toy. This one might come out sooner than later, but I thought I'd put it in this list because currently at the date of recording, there is no mention of this character coming out, no listings, no leaks, nothing. And that would be a update to Swerve. Now, Swerve came out in Thrilling 30, that's why he's in this list, and he has yet to come out with an actual toy based on his G1 appearance. And there is Gears that has come out, but there's no Swerve, and it would be an easy repaint retool, and that's why I'm putting him in there, is because he hasn't been listed or leaked or anything. Tankor from Thrilling 30, I technically have no issue with. He might be a little small, but I like to think of him not as Tankor, but as a tank drone, because during Beast Machines, Tankor was a Voyager, and for the basic class, well, at that time, that would be considered like Core / Deluxe currently. Essentially, he is that size being smaller, so tank drone is where I would put this guy. But Tankor himself does need to be updated because the hinge cannon thing on his back does not work. He just is too small, and they could probably include like the rotating blades on his wrist that would rotate and come to the forward part in robot mode as like a secret weapon, because that was featured in the cartoon. And essentially, I know Beast Machines is not full of love for multiple reasons, none of them I can understand really. But essentially, I think that if they were to do a Beast Machines higher class than Core currently, I would love to see Tankor as a voice. Thrilling 30 Whirl. I just do not like him. He is heavily based off of the IDW design, which I get, IDW is popular and stuff, but for me, I would love to see him stick closer to G1. The helicopter's fine, but the chicken legs, the lack of a skid feet, his weapons are okay, but you need to make sure that somehow you get to attach the little arm cannon thingy more tighter, because mine just constantly falls off. And essentially, yeah, it just needs to be redone, in my opinion, to be more G1. It doesn't have to be slavishly G1, because at that point I think you would get into legal trouble with Bandai or whoever owns the original toy designs and stuff. But just close enough where he doesn't have the bent legs, the backwards bent legs, and the weird chicken feet thing going on. He actually has regular feet, and underneath the regular feet, you can put on the skids. Make those an accessory if you want. We are now at the last section of this list, and that would be Combiner War. There are only 2 entries on this part, and right now we are focusing on the big one, Combiner Wars Lio Kaiser. More specifically, we are focusing on the main body torso part of Combiner Wars Desirus, or Deathsaurus. The thing is that, what the heck did they do? They took Deathsaurus instead of Liozak and Jaguar, and they combined the two with Deathsaurus and made a Skylinks weird combination thing. Instead of using, what, I don't know, a modded Silverbolt would have been okay, or a variation of. Then you would include a character kind of like Blackjack from the Stunticon set, and essentially you would have all 6 members and you didn't have to freak it up. And to round off this part of the list in its entirety is Combiner Wars Power Glide. Now, I have a big love-hate relationship with this Power Glide because the robot mode and vehicle mode are stunning. The issue is that he has to turn into Gun for Superion. Now, I don't know how widespread this problem is, but his back flap area that becomes the sight, that just sheared off, so I can't even form the jet mode anymore. And that, to me, really sucks because that should have been more robust. Also, he shouldn't need to turn into a gun because it's Power Glide. So, essentially, I would like to see a not too big of a deluxe like Warpath, Huffer, or them, you know, where they're on the bigger side, but a medium-sized deluxe, bigger than B, but smaller or around the same size as Huffer and them. For those of you who stayed with me to this part, I want to thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. I am compiling this list because essentially my review table is just trash right now. And essentially, my camera, I am having a lot of issues, so I am struggling to come up with ideas. But for those that have stayed, thank you. You guys rock. And I can't thank you guys enough for staying with me. I have been Nurdie J. Thank you for hearing me out, and I'll catch you next time.